But I have a really good, I saw the doctor, I think she went through her full stop,
Yeah.
and they measured your thighs, because your thigh muscle is the first one to atrophy.
Okay.
And that you need that really strong in order to start the knee.
Right.
And they measured mine, and they're a half a centimeter different.
Oh.
Shabbat shalom, Karen.
He does still run the team in money, so it's like, but it's like, you know, between that and a few months ago. Yeah, that was maybe just a. I was a little bit nervous. There what he had to say, but he did not want me to go on this trip. He asked me like 5 times, are you sure you can go this trip? Are you sure? I'm not gonna steal this trip. Huh? Well, first of all, it's 3, 3, and 3. It's like a huge plane. But I understand an island. And I'm 6 rows from the bathroom. That's what my sister did. She flew to Thailand with that. Yeah, she heard her granddaughter Isle. Because they flew to Hawaii, but they're like, this is good. I think they got it. I feel bad for Rob that he has to middle seat, but usually I get the middle seat in this aisle. And then when my knee was really bad, or when they were one in Ireland, we had our seats both aisles, so that across from each other, both straight out, which we tried to do at Air Canada, but they didn't have the seats. Jesse and Cabaret last week.
Oh, yeah.
Choose. That was super bad.
You're alive.
Yeah, I know, that's great. It's okay. I don't know. And like. Okay. That's really. If you travel with them, so it's not going to be very much more or less, you know. Or they're all running. Yeah. Really. You don't have to. Just knowing them. My husband didn't learn some. He never done all the time. He didn't have to go to the side of the. Yeah, it seems like I'm scared of the. Like, there's a. It's like, it's kind of like really scary, but it's not. It's very serene. You was in. Well,
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom and welcome all who are with us in person and all joining us via our live stream on YouTube. Wonderful to be together on this Shabbat as we celebrate and struggle and wrestle with ideas of reproductive rights. This is Repro Shabbat. So the National Council of Jewish Women has sponsored it. We'll talk a little bit more about it as we go through, but for now, we'll begin as we invite Janice and Lisa forward to light our Shabbat candles. The blessing can be found on page 2.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'chag l'kner shel Shabbat.
You can read one of the readings in the opposite page.
Okay, pick one.
Well, that's one. O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and our lives. Bless all who enter this sanctuary in need, all who bring the offerings of their hearts. May our worship lead us to acts of kindness, peace, and love.
Yael, thank you for joining us and being our service leader this evening. Wonderful to have you again. And we'll begin on page 10 with Hine Matov, how great it is to be together.
Hine Matov u'manayim, sheberachim gam yachad. 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 Hine Matov אחים גם יחד, יתנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד.
We turn together to page 20 as we join in Lecha Dodi, as we welcome Shabbat into our hearts and into our lives, once again embracing the relationship, the special, unique relationship between God and the people of Israel, reenacted by the wedding, reenacted by greeting the Sabbath bride each and every week.
Lecha Dodi לקראת כלה בימי שבת נקבלה. Lecha Dodi לקראת כלה בימי שבת נקבלה. שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ולתפארת ולתהילה. Lecha Dodi לקראת כלה בימי שבת נקבלה. Lecha Dodi לקראת כלה בימי שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכבודך, כי היא מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. Lecha Dodi לקראת כלה בימי שבת נקבלה. Lecha Dodi לקראת כלה בימי שבת נקבלה. Hiturevri, ki ba'orach kubiuri, uri, shir daveri, kavod Adonai lahich nigla. Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Shalom, Ateret Bala, Gam Besimcha Ufsola, Toch Emunei Am Segula, Boi Chala, Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela.
Please be seated, and we'll continue with Shalom Aleichem, words of welcome on page 24.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Barchuni l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Say it's time l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
We turn together to page 26 as we rise for Chatzi Kaddish.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה. ועמד יברח ירצה וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי כל בית ישראל. בגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעלמי יתברך. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה תמירן בעלמה ואמרו amen.
Page 28, Baruch, our call to worship. Praise Adonai, to whom our praises due. Praise Adonai, to whom our praises due. Praise Adonai, to whom our praises due. Now and forever. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Yom Balayla, Kolel or Mifnei Moshe, Kolel or Mifnei Moshe, Bechoshev Mifnei Or. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Please be seated as we continue, page 30, with Ma'ariv Aravim, thanking God for the wonders and the miracles of creation. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro Ma'ariv Aravim, b'chokhmah poteach sha'arim, uvitvuna meshane itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umesader et hakochavim, umishmerotehem barakia kirtzono. Borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or. Uma'avir yom umevi laila, uma'avdil ben yom uven laila, Adonai tziva'ot shemo. El chai v'kayam, tamid yimloch aleinu leolam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai, Ma'ariv Aravim. Page 33. Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol, all these things your Torah gives to us. And the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works and the living language that gives it form? Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
Ahavat olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, Chukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadata. Al ken Adonai Eloheinu b'shochenu, U'kumenu nasiach b'chukecha, V'nismach b'divrei Toratecha, V'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed, Ki hem hayenu, Ve'orech yameinu, Uvahem negeo mam v'layla, V'havta al tasir, Mimenu le'olamim, Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev amo Yisrael, Ohev amo Yisrael.
We turn together to page 34 as we rise for Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod, Shem Kevod, Malchuto, Leolam Va'ed.
Please be seated as we continue Ve'ahavta, page 36.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Adonai Elohechem Emet. Page 39. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt, we were delivered. At Sinai, we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea. Our Song of Freedom, Mi Chamocha, page 40.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש. נורא תהילות עושי פלא, נורא תהילות עושי פלא, משה ומרים, זה אלינו ואמרו, זה אלינו ואמרו, אדוני, ימלוך לעולם ועד. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש. נורא תהילות עושי פלא, נורא תהילות עושי פלא, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד.
Page 45. We are a people in whom the past endures, in whom the present is inconceivable from moments gone by. The Exodus lasted a moment enduring forever. What happened once upon a time happens all the time. So we thank God for the blessings that we have to celebrate Shabbat and the idea that we are the guardians of Shabbat, that we actually, Shabbat doesn't happen unless we ourselves go out and do. We have to guard it, protect it, and be active in it. Otherwise, it just doesn't happen. And so we thank God for those opportunities. We have to make that and create that experience of Shabbat for all of us together.
No?
Vishamru? I was like, is that a new version of Vishamru I haven't heard?
My bad. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
Prayer invites God's presence to suffuse our spirits, God's will to prevail in our lives. Prayer may not bring water to parched fields, nor mend a broken bridge, nor rebuild a ruined city. But prayer can water an arid soul, mend a broken heart, rebuild a weakened will. We rise together for Amidah. Adonai sifatai tiftach, ufi agit tehilatecha. Adonai, open our lips, that our mouths may declare your praise.
Adonai sfatai tiftach, ufi yagit tehilatecha. Adonai sfatai tiftach, ufi yagit Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotinu v'imotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'konei hakol, v'zocher chastei avot ve'imahot, u'mevii gula libnei v'neihem, leman shemo be'ahava. Melech ozer u'mashiach u'magen, Baruch atah Adonai, magen Avraham v'ezrat Sarah. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, mechayeh hakol etzarav lehoshia, mashiv haruach u'marid hagashem, mechalkel chayim bechesed, mechayeh hakol berachamim rabim, somech noflim v'rofeh cholim, u'matir asurim, u'mekayem emunato lishenei afar, michamocha bal gevurot, u'mido melach, melech mimit u'mechayeh, u'matzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'eman atah lechayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, mechayeh hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom yehalelucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh.
Please be seated as we continue page 53. Days pass and the years vanish, and we walk sightless among miracles. God, fill our eyes with seeing and our minds with knowing. Let there be moments when your presence, like lightning, illumines the darkness in which we walk. Help us to see, wherever we gaze, that the bush burns unconsumed, and we, clay touched by God, will reach out for holiness and exclaim in wonder, how filled with awe is this place, and we did not know it. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. 55. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Page 57. Ever-present one, may we, your people Israel, be worthy in our deeds and our prayer. Wherever we live, wherever we seek you, in this land, in Zion restored, in other land, in all lands, you are our God, whom alone we serve in reverence. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otcha levadcha b'yirah na'avod. Page 59. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us, so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth, which day by day sustains us. For all these and more, we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulecha na'eh lehodot. Let's join together, top of page 61. Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace, its advocate among the nations. May contentment reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among the inhabitants of every land. Plant virtue in every soul. May the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Praised are you, Eternal One, who blesses our people with peace.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech Adon lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech Adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rabbi Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rabbi Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. B'tov b'neicha levarech et Amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rabbi Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rabbi Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam.
We take a few moments, leaving aside the prayer book, and we look inward to the prayers in our own hearts, our own minds. We take some moments for silent prayer.
יהיו לרצון אמרתי והגיון ליבי לפניך אדוני צורי אדוני צורי
We turn together to page 253. And there we find our blessing for healing. And we send and we pray for healing for all those who need that healing, whether it's a healing of body or mind or heart or soul. We think of the people who have suffered so greatly in Turkey and Syria, and their lives have been immeasurably changed, many having lost relatives and family and friends, their homes, everything they knew, towns even. The magnitude is just now coming to us, and the fears are, of course, that it will be compounded. And so whatever energies we have, whatever strength we can, we send to them and to all who are in pain and who need healing. And in our congregation, we especially mention Steve Tottleman, Diane Levy, Martha Snyder, Brooke Gelman, Jay Kaler, Diane Kaler, Laurie Samuels, Calvin Bam, Kat Winslow, Sandra French, John Myers, and Cindy Scrimenti. If anyone would like to share a name, if you're joining us via live stream, please put the name into our chat. If you're here in person and would like to share a name as I look around, please do so. Join together in our blessing for healing.
May the source of strength who blessed the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misheperach imotenu mekor habracha le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Shabbat Shalom. We are, as I said, this Shabbat is Repro Shabbat. So it is a Shabbat of thinking and wrestling and grappling with issues of reproductive rights. National Council of Jewish Women has sponsored a lot of material, and a lot of thought has gone into trying to create an opportunity for us as a Jewish community to think about and reflect on what our stance is as a community and as a historic faith group. What does our faith have to say about reproductive rights? And so we are going to take a look. Where are we here? So I thought I would do a little PowerPoint so that everybody at home could also see. Everybody can see that? Okay. Good. Okay. When we say the Torah of reproductive right, reproductive justice, Torah is a term that we can talk about these scrolls in our ark, but also we can talk about Jewish wisdom. What does Jewish wisdom, what does Jewish literature have to say about reproductive rights? So let's take a look. Okay, so across the United States, we are thinking about this issue. We are grappling with it. We are figuring it out. Why on this Shabbat, of course, is the question, right? It's a Ma nishtana halayla hazeh, right? Why on this? What makes this night different from all other nights? Why not have repro Shabbat at a different point? Well, it is in this week's parsha that the Torah relates a conversation and an incident about a miscarriage and an unintentional abortion. So we're going to take a look at what our tradition says, first of all, about the status of an unborn fetus. So here is the text. When two men fight and one of them pushes a pregnant woman, obviously unintentionally, and a miscarriage results, but no other damage ensues. And actually, the other translations sort of say nobody dies. Right? So it's not, there isn't any other collateral damage. Nobody dies. The one responsible shall be fined according to what the woman's husband may exact from him, which is a complicated English statement saying that they're entitled monetary compensation for the loss of that potential child. The payment is to be based on the decision of the judges. So judges will determine what that decision is. But if someone is killed or injured, well, killed really, the penalty is life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, blah, blah, burn for burn, wound for wound, bruise for bruise. None of that is literal, you should know. It's not like we go around poking people's eyes out and cutting off their hands and all that other stuff. It relates only to monetary compensation that is equal to the loss of whatever it is that was lost. Okay. This text has often been used as as a vendetta text, right? If you kill my family, I'm going to kill you because the Bible tells me I can do it. Well, it doesn't. We'll just throw that one in there. Okay. So, well, first let's go back. What does it mean then about the status of the fetus? It's not a person, right? It does not reach the status of a person. Okay? It hasn't yet reached that potential. Okay. So what does Judaism actually think about pregnancy? Well, Yevamot 69b, which is a section of the Talmud, so it's in 1st through 3rd century wisdom literature, Jewish legal literature, says if she's found pregnant until the 40th day, it's mere fluid. Kind of an interesting reflection. The amount of insight that they had was truly, I think, astounding. That they knew that it wasn't until a certain point that things really started to evolve and develop. And so there's again no status of any sort of, there's no conversation of the unborn fetus being a person in any way. And that's an important distinction we'll get to in a minute. Okay. Rabbi Yehuda Hanassi's position is that the fetus is considered as its mother's thigh, which means that a fetus is considered to be part of the mother, which has huge implications, right? Because if a part of me is infected or bad or could attack the rest of me, what do? You'll remove it, right? You can amputate, you can all sorts of different things. And that's really what he's going at here is he's saying, look, this is not a person. This is simply a part of the mother at this point. Again, 1st through 3rd century literature. Very much later, well, it's Mishnah, so it's that same area, but a little bit further on in the text, it says, if a woman is having trouble, and this text is quite a difficult one to read, but it shows the absolute graphic detail that the rabbis felt. If a woman is having trouble giving birth, they cut up the child in her womb and it brings it and bring it forth limb by limb, because her life comes before the life of the potential child. So very clear that, number one, it's not a person yet. It's a potential person, but it's not a person yet. And so if there's a choice to be made between the life of the mother and the potential life of the fetus, we are obligated, according to Jewish law here, to preserve the life of the mother. The kind of the logical reasoning behind is that this is the reality of we have the life of the mother in front of us, and we know that she is a real person. We don't know if the fetus could eventually become a person or perhaps not, right? That was the logic behind that one. But there's limits to that, because at what point does somebody transition from potentially a person to having the status of a person? Here we go. But if the majority of the baby has come out, and really the rabbis talk about it as either the head, or if it's a breech, half of the body. That's what they think the majority is. Okay? One may not touch it. For one may not set aside one person's life for that of another. So very important that while we make sure that we do everything we can and the mother's life is preeminent, if in fact the baby actually is out or halfway out, at that point that you can't choose between the two, because now you have two lives. You have two lives. So the baby has now reached the status of being a person. Very different than what it was before. And so once the child is out that much, well, practically speaking, if a child is out pretty much that much, the rest kind of follows, if it will. Usually anyway, usually. But why wouldn't they have just said, once the baby's all the way out? Like, why did they kind of put that kind of weird half out sort of piece to it? What do you think? I don't really have an answer to that. So I think that's just an interesting one to think about. I mean, I would speculate that I think they wanted to establish the personhood of the child as early as possible in the process. And so they felt that the earliest they could designate the child, the fetus as a child, would be at this point. There's no real conversation around it in the text, so I get to make it up. So, Mishnah, what's the Mishnah saying? So in a situation where somebody's life is in danger, we're very clear. It's unequivocal. You read it before. It was absolutely clear. You go in and you cut up the fetus and you take the parts out and you save the mother. No question. So the only situation in which we come into question is what happens if the birth is sort of halfway in and halfway out, And, I think doctors would need to, or midwives, whatever would need to make the best possible effort to save both. And then you have a quote from Rabbi David Feldman. Implicit in this Mishnah is the teaching that the rights of the fetus are secondary to the rights of the mother all the way up until the moment of birth. That the fetus does not have the rights of a human being, of a person, until birth. So now we heard about what happens if the mother's life is in danger. Well, what happens about other implications to her health? And in this case, it's about mental health, which is from a responsa, which is a rabbi's response to a question. It's a formulaic series of pieces of literature that answers the question through the lens of Jewish tradition. Okay. And this particular one was written sometime between 1739 and 1759. So not new, but in Jewish terms, very new. Yes? I mean, when we talk about Torah being 3,000 or 4,000 years old and the Talmud being 2,000 years old, something that is only a couple hundred years old is fairly new. So here we go. The questioner asks about the adulterous married woman who is pregnant. It's a good question. It appears to me to permit her to abort, meaning that if a woman gets pregnant through an adulterous relationship, his response is that she should be permitted to have an abortion. Okay? Why? And even in the case of a legitimate fetus, there is reason to be lenient if there is a great need, as long as the fetus has not begun to emerge. So he's saying it doesn't have to be this extreme case of an adulterous relationship. Even if it's a legitimate fetus, if there's a reason that that in these cases you have to err on the side of leniency because it's such a sensitive issue. And they're saying why? Even if the mother's life is not in jeopardy, but only so as to save her from woe. And woe we can understand and read that as mental anguish or mental illness or anxiety or whatever term we want to use for it. But it definitely relates to more than her life is in danger. Yeah? Okay. So to save her from woe associated with it, that would cause her great pain. Right? So meaning that, his interpretation of the literature and text says you can proceed with an abortion if, in fact, having this child is going to cause enormous pain, and that can be mental anguish, it can be physical pain, either way. But either way, you have to be lenient and permit it to happen. Okay, much more modern. It's clear and obvious that Jewish law holds that a fetus is not a person. Right? He's reading it from the text, right? It's very clear. There's no way a fetus can be labeled as a person. If it was, and you had the position from the Bible, from the Torah that we read at the beginning, what would have happened if the fetus was considered a person? Whoever caused the mother to abort or to miscarry would have been charged with a capital offense, right? It would have been murder or manslaughter at the minimum. Right? But they're not. It's as if they cut off or damaged a part of her body. So very clear. Therefore, Jewish law, which is in this Maharat, which is a series of again responses and whatever from 16th century Greece, permits arrangement for a Jewish woman to abort a fetus where it is needed for the mother's health, even without it being a matter of saving the mother's life. Right. So another example, a modern commentary that's going to pick up, a commentary from 16th century Greece. Okay. And it goes on, and in such a case, Rabbi Yaakov Emden permitted writing, and even with a legitimate fetus, there is room to be lenient for a great need, so long as it has not been uprooted for birth. Even without a need to save the mother's life, but only to save her from her evil, which causes her great pain. Now, obviously written in a particular style and whatever, but the message is very clear that even though she may be not in imminent risk of life, we are permitted to proceed with an abortion. We see very clearly that this permission of Rabbi Yaakov Emden is even when it is not a matter of saving the mother's life. We'll skip that. Okay. So where do we go? So number one, Judaism, and by the way, how many times, Judaism is very clear about abortion, and we have a lot of texts on abortion. How many times is abortion mentioned in the Christian Bible? None. 0. Just throwing that out there, okay? But we do not have the idea of the fetus maintaining that sense of personhood. The fetus becomes a person or gains the status of a person when? At birth. The life of the pregnant person it takes precedence in the event of a difficult birth, of course, right? And for the first 40 days, we consider there to be simply fluid. It's not even, in other words, it's not even really a fetus. It hasn't yet, there's stages, right? And it hasn't yet reached that level. Traditional Jewish sources acknowledge abortion as self-defense and or as pekuach nefesh, which means something that you do in order to save a life when someone's life is at stake and risk, and it's more than physical risk, it's also mental anguish risk as well. Pennsylvania. We seem to be in a state that is, we're lucky, I think, in that reproductive healthcare services, and this is from the PA.gov website, says including abortion remain safe, accessible, and legal in Pennsylvania. And the US Supreme Court's decision doesn't impact that. And you can have an abortion in Pennsylvania up through the 23rd week at will. And then afterwards, based on the needs and the safety of the mother. Right? If the health and the present danger, et cetera, both medication and in-clinic abortive procedures continue to be legal and available here. Okay, so if we're all good here, why are we bothering to have this conversation? Why do we need to have this conversation? Yeah, it's not just about us. And in fact, with the Supreme Court's decision to reverse the Roe v. Wade decision, it's even more important that we are strong and clear about what we want in our place, right here in Erie, in our state for sure, about what we want for reproductive rights, the way we want our doctors to be involved with our health care, and not be told by politicians what our health care should be. Right? Because that goes on a very slippery slope in a lot of different directions. I don't want my politicians deciding much about me, let alone my health care. Right? We may be following and going into a time where we may be in a position of having to host people who have to come here because they can't get an abortion somewhere else. Right? There's been talk of an underground abortion railroad, if you will, of setting up safe places that people can go to and be able to have an abortion and recuperate and then be able to return home. Right? We are in a very, very difficult time as it relates to some of these in many, many states. You don't need me to go through the politics of all of that. You can do that better than I. But it's very clear. And this is actually in an amazing way, you know, across the Jewish spectrum, we don't agree on a whole lot. Right? We don't often agree on everything. In fact, we disagree more than we agree. We should sit for the Shema, we should stand for the Shema. We should do it in English, we should do it in Hebrew. We should sit together with men and women, we shouldn't sit together with men and women. We should sing modern songs, we should only sing traditional songs. We should only back and forth, right? Our synagogue should look like this, they should look like that. We don't agree on much, but almost universally, these are universally accepted ideas. And so, you know, when somebody says, well, how can you as a faith leader advocate for abortion? That is my faith, right? That is our faith. That is who we are. And our tradition has always seen abortion as a viable and appropriate solution to a problem that somebody's having. And whether that problem is a threat to the life of the pregnant person or is a threat to the health and well-being, doesn't matter. So, comments, questions? Somebody disagree with me? No? Okay. I thought I might get into trouble. I think that it's, you know, I think when we look at it through these lenses, right, it's so important to understand that we have such a tradition and a history of this. That this is not something we're pulling out of a contemporary idea, right? We have 5,000 or 4,000 years worth of Jewish tradition that supports us on these things. So, ideas, questions? Rabbi, finish and I want to go to dinner. Okay, good. All right. So we are going to turn to page 282 as we rise for Aleinu.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו גויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובה מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו כאפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום והשבותה אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Please be seated as we continue. Our thoughts turn now to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and of death. We are in the period of Shloshim for Adam Francis Levy, and we observe Yahrzeit on this Shabbat for Frida Loeb, Jacob Voss, Gregory Thorpe, Joseph Gold, George Harris, Michael Levy, Emma Nicholson, Catherine Kaufman, Samuel S. Gardner, Herman Warftag, Morris Castleman, Gabrielle Schaffner, George Small, Lillian Steinberg, Matilda Schaffner, Manfred Jerome Berliner, Grace Yetta Urick, Jeannie Schaffner Phillips, Abraham Reese, Abraham Weisenkorn, Julius Sender, Meyer Sunstein, and Lillian Levick. If you are joining us via live stream and would like to add a name, please add the name into our chat. If you are here in person and you would like to share a name, please do so. We rise together. We turn to page 294. We join together in Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah. Ba'alma divra kirutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael. Ba'gala v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach la'alam u'lalmei armaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yithaleh v'yithalal shemei dekudsha b'rihu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechamata. Ta'amiran b'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Please be seated, and I'd like to invite Jay Schuster forward to share some announcements.
Shabbat shalom, everybody. Just the ones down here.
Okay.
All right. Services are in memory of Eric Rosen. Services tomorrow will start at 10 a.m. Shabbat morning service, Torah study at 11 o'clock. Purim celebration. We'll have a special Purim celebration on Sunday, March 15th at 11:30. March 5th
March 5th.
at 11:30.
You and I can do it again on the 15th if you like, but
Please see the flyer in the weekly email for information and also to confirm the date.
now the trick is we're doing Purim karaoke with a twist. So yes, you're into it. Good. So not only will you have a chance to do karaoke, but you have to come dressed as your favorite star.
So all you Elvis impersonators will be waiting for you. The Calling Tree, looking for volunteers for the Calling Tree. We need people to call their fellow congregants to check upon them, relay information, and keep connected. If you're interested, please contact Janice Whitmerhouse if you're interested. Janice out in the audience. Phone number 814-838-7474 or 814-397-4536. And then finally, the temple office will be closed this Monday, February 20th, in observance of President's Day.
Great. Thank you. Here's
Thank
your
you.
call. So we'll conclude this evening with a song not actually in the prayer book called Olam Chesed Yibaneh. We should build this world with chesed, with kindness, with peace, with understanding, with compassion.
Olam chesed yibaneh, yadadai, dai, dai, yadadai, dai. 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 I will build this world from love, yadadai, dai, dai, yadadai, dai. You must build this world from love, yadadai, dai, dai, yadadai, dai. And if we build this world from love, yadadai, dai, dai, yadadai, dai, then God will build this world from love, yadadai, dai, dai, yadadai, dai. Olam chesed yibaneh, yadadai, dai, dai, yadadai, dai. Olam chesed yibaneh, yadadai, dai, dai, yadadai, dai.
We join in Kiddush. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho v'ahava uvratzon inchilanu. Zikaron lemaaseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila l'mikrae kodesh, zecher l'tziyat Mitzrayim, kivanu v'acharta, ve'otanu kidashta, Mikol ha'avim, v'shabbat kodshecha, ve'ahava uvratzon, hinchaltanu, Baruch atah Adonai, Hadesh HaShabbat. Amen. Chaim. Chala. Motzi lechem min haaretz. We give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Motzi lechem min haaretz v'tei avon. Shabbat shalom, everybody. Stay warm, stay safe.